Okay, let's get into this. The 2025 Canadian Grand Prix. Wow. It wasn't just a race, was it? It felt like full-blown drama right up to the end.
Oh, absolutely.
We got this breakthrough win, kind of unexpected, this really heartbreaking moment between teammates, big ripple effects potentially there,
Yeah.
and a real shakeup in the championship. Suddenly things look, well, incredibly interesting.
It really delivered, didn't it? Montreal's famous for being unpredictable, and this race, yeah, it lived up to it.
We've been digging into the sources you shared, race reports, driver quotes, some really sharp analysis pieces trying to figure out why it all happened.
And what it all means, right?
Exactly.
So that's our mission today. We want to guide you through that, pull out the key moments, show you the surprising bits from the analysis, and try to piece together what this wild weekend tells us about the title fight right now and, what to watch for in Austria.
Yeah, think of it like your essential download on Canada. All the key info without you having to wade through everything yourself. Perfect. Okay, settle in then. Welcome to the deep dive into the 2025 Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Let's jump right in.
Right, so even before the lights went out, the grid was already a bit messy. Penalties. Isaac Hadjar got one for impeding Sainz in quali, so he dropped back.
And Tsunoda too, right. A big one for him.
Yeah, red flag infringement in practice. That meant starting dead last.
Ouch. And then you had Lawson and Gasly starting from the pit lane. That happens when teams make big changes after qualifying, doesn't it? New power units for both.
Exactly. They changed stuff under Parc Fermé, those rules that lock the car setup after qualifying. You break those, you start from the pits. Simple as that.
Adds another layer, doesn't it? And at the tires, too, right from the start, different choices.
Oh, yeah. Most of the front guys went for mediums. But you had others, like Norris, Leclerc, further back, starting on the hards. So straight away, you're thinking, okay, one stop, two stop, can the mediums last?
And then the start itself. George Russell, pole position, textbook getaway, held the lead from Max.
Clean from him. But the real fireworks on lap one, that was just behind him. Kimi Antonelli.
Yes, the rookie.
Starting fourth. Super decisive. Got right onto Piastri, and boom, by turn 3, he'd made the move stick. P3. Suddenly it's Mercedes 1 and 3. Not what many predicted, I think.
No, especially after their Friday maybe wasn't stellar. Further back, though, it got a bit tangled. Albon and Colapinto.
Yeah, they had a moment. Sent Albon off track, cost him places. Hulkenberg, though, sharp as ever, picked up a few spots in that chaos.
So early laps, Verstappen was keeping Russell honest, wasn't he? Staying in DRS range.
He was. DRS, that's the drag reduction system the rear wing flap drivers can open when they're close behind someone in certain zones. Helps overtaking. Max was close enough for a bit.
But Russell managed to edge away.
Yeah, just slightly. And we started hearing about tires really early. Piastri mentioned degradation. His rears were going off quickly, he said. Even Verstappen called his tires fragile.
Fragile, wow. So they couldn't just push flat out, had to manage them.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Lando Norris, starting P7 after, well, what he called mistakes in qualifying.
Yeah, he felt he should have been higher.
But he was showing good pace, got past Alonso, then Hamilton, making moves. It hinted the McLaren had speed, even from back there.
Which brings us to the strategy game. The pit stops. Verstappen blinked first, didn't he? Lap 13.
Yep, first of the front runners, switched to the hard tires.
And Mercedes. They had to react.
Immediately. Next lap, Russell in. They put him on a C4 medium tire, that's the softer one. Crucially, he came back out just ahead of Verstappen. That was perfectly timed by Mercedes. Huge moment.
Put them in control, strategically. Antonelli pitted soon after, came out behind Max. Piastri stayed out longer.
Yeah, led for a bit, actually, then pitted on lap 17. Rejoined behind Antonelli.
Then you had the guys who started on hards, Leclerc and Norris. They went long. Leclerc pitted lap 29, and they put him back on hards again.
Which basically committed him to a two-stop. And he didn't sound happy, did he? That radio message, I don't understand this choice.
Yeah, that stood out. Our sources picked up on that. Potential communication friction at Ferrari, maybe?
Could be. Norris went even longer, lap 30. But he took mediums. So that kept his options open. Could maybe try a miracle one stop or set up a late second stop.
And Albon, he was the last of the medium starters to pit, wasn't he? Lap 24. Apparently wasn't too pleased they kept him out so long on a one stop that wasn't working.
Yeah, you could sense the frustration. So the mid-race, you had all these different strategies playing out. Russell got the lead back as everyone cycled through.
Verstappen made a second stop pretty early, lap 38. Back onto hards. Was that reacting to Antonelli closing in?
Analysis suggests maybe, yeah. Trying to cover him off. Antonelli mirrored that. Lap 40, also hards, came out behind Max again.
Then Mercedes brought Russell in again, lap 43. Mediums again. Clever move.
Seemed like it. Brought him in maybe a lap or two early just to make sure he rejoined ahead of Verstappen and avoided traffic. Smart play.
Piastri took a second stop, too. Norris, after that long first stint, pitted again late, lap 48, rejoined behind Piastri. And Leclerc finally made his second stop on lap 54 for mediums.
So yeah, a real mix. Failed 1 stops, committed 2 stops, flexible approaches, all coming together at the end.
While all that strategy was unfolding, we had some incidents. Lance Stroll got a penalty.
Yeah, 10 seconds for forcing Gasly off track on lap 47. Pretty clear cut, pushing another car off.
And we lost Lawson earlier, mechanical issue. And sadly for Williams, Albon retired late. Power unit.
Yep, power unit problem. Tough race for Albon after the lap 1 tangle and the strategy call.
Speaking of tough races, Lewis Hamilton.
Oh yeah, qualifying looked good, but Sunday, described as dreadful in some reports. Seems he hit a groundhog.
A groundhog?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Apparently, yeah. Caused significant damage. The analysis said it cost him at least 20 points of downforce.
Wow. That's huge. Downforce is basically the grip, right? Pushing the car onto the track. Losing 20 points, that makes the car way harder to drive.
Exactly. Less grip, less stability, slower lap times. Hamilton himself said he was grateful for the points he salvaged, mentioned nearly having brake failure. One source called it Groundhog Day. For him, good quality, unlucky race. Seems to be a pattern.
Okay, so as the laps wound down, things got tense at the front. Gaps closing.
Yeah, setting up for some great battles. Antonelli and Piastri for third, looked like. And then the big one. The 2 McLarens, Piastri and Norris, fighting hard for fourth.
And this is where it all went wrong for McLaren. Lap 67, Norris right behind Piastri.
They'd been battling pretty much all race, pushing each other hard. Coming down the straight towards turn 13, Norris went for it, braked late.
Too late.
Looked like it. Just tagged the back of Piastri's car.
And the result was instant. Norris straight into the wall. Race over.
Yeah, his radio message was immediate, wasn't it? All my fault. Sorry, stupid for me. Took full responsibility straight away.
Piastri felt a small touch, he said. Luckily, his car wasn't too badly damaged. He kept going, pitted under the safety car that came out for Norris's crash, and managed to finish fourth.
So yeah, the race finished under the safety car. George Russell crosses the line first. Maiden win of 2025, his 4th career win. Really dominant drive from pole.
Max Verstappen second. Good damage limitation. Maximized the result when maybe the car wasn't the absolute fastest.
And P3. Kimi Antonelli, first ever F1 podium for the rookie. Incredible.
Makes him the 3rd youngest podium finisher ever, right? Just 18.
Amazing achievement. He said the race was very, very stressful, like 10 out of 10 stressful watching the laps tick down, but super happy. Analysis loved his first lap, how he kept pressure on Max. Huge performance.
After the flag, a little bit of extra drama. Red Bull protested Russell.
Yeah, alleging erratic driving behind the safety car. Stewards threw it out pretty quickly, though. Norris got a 5-second penalty for the collision, but obviously didn't matter as he DNF'd.
And a few warnings for drivers passing cars on the cool-down lap under the safety car. Antonelli, Piastri, Leclerc, a few others.
Yeah, minor technicality. Passing cars after the finish line when the safety car is still technically controlling the pace. Just a reminder of the rules, really.
Okay, so that huge race in Montreal. What does it mean for the championship? This is where it gets really interesting looking at the sources.
Yeah, the standings got a proper shakeup. Oscar Piastri, he now leads, 198 points. Lando Norris second, 176. Max Verstappen third, 155 points. And George Russell, with that win, jumps to fourth on 136.
So that collision, direct impact on the title fight. Piastri had a 10-point lead going in. Now it's 22 points over Norris, 198 versus 176. That one moment could be massive later on.
Huge swing. And look at the gap behind Norris. Verstappen's now only 21 points back from Lando.
But what's really fascinating is Russell. That win puts him right in the mix behind Piastri, only 19 points behind Verstappen now. So that battle for P2, P3, P4 suddenly involves Norris, Verstappen, and Russell. Really tight.
And the teams. Constructors' Championship. McLaren still leads, 374 points, solid lead. But behind them, Mercedes, with the double podium, they leapfrogged Ferrari into second, 199 points.
Wow. Ferrari drops to third, 183 points, and Red Bull down to fourth on 162. So McLaren's lead is big, but Mercedes suddenly look like they're closing right up on Ferrari and Red Bull. Real momentum shift.
Let's dig into what the analysis said about the key players, the winners and losers from Canada.
Well, the biggest winner, obviously, George Russell. Analysis calls it dominant. His pole lap was the lap of his life, said he never looked like losing. They noted his consistency this season, saying he's maturing, maybe not forcing it like last year.
Helped by the car, presumably.
Yeah. Analysis suggests this is the faster and most compliant car Mercedes have produced since the rule changes in 22. A winning combo. Russell himself just said it was amazing to be back on the top step. Simple as that.
On the other side, Lando Norris, framed as a loser from the weekend, sadly, despite having good pace.
Yeah, the analysis points to those qualifying mistake putting him P7 when he felt the car was better. And then the cruelty is all his hard work in the race being maybe the quickest car at times, fighting back, undone by that collision with Piastri. The analysis was pretty direct about it, wasn't it?
Quite pointed, suggesting his big mistakes, his frailties, might have flattered Oscar so far this season. Basically saying Piastri looks good, partly because Norris keeps making these errors, masking how close they might be otherwise.
There was also mention of an upgrade Norris had.
Yeah, a front suspension upgrade Norris took, Piastri didn't. Big question is, will that help Lando settle the car more to his liking, cut out the mistakes? They credit him for owning the collision instantly, but the bottom line was clear. Needs to stop making so many mistakes.
And Oscar Piastri, highlighted for consistency again, finishes P4 despite the hit, extends his lead.
Exactly. Analysis says his fewer errors compared to Norris. Looking more and more like that will be the deciding factor in the championship. His take was just, felt a small touch, shame for the team. McLaren boss Andrea Stella called the collision not acceptable, but did appreciate Norris owning it, saying it sort of resets the situation. Interesting dynamic there.
Max Verstappen, seen as a winner.
Yeah, in the sense of maximizing. Rock solid, clean weekend. Got the best possible result when the car wasn't quite there. Struggled with tires early on, didn't have Russell's pace, but crucially, he beat both McLarens on a circuit that theoretically should have favored them. He said P2 was the maximum. Getting P2 when you're not dominant, that's a win for him.
And Kimi Antonelli, massive winner, maiden podium.
Absolutely. Analysis loved his composure, that well-judged first lap melee to get past Piastri, then keeping the pressure on Max. He admitted it was stressful, but you wouldn't know it watching him. Strong bounce back after a tricky few races before this one.
Ferrari, though, painted as losers.
Yeah, mixed on-track fortunes, never a dull moment in Ferrari land, as one source put it.
Yeah.
Includes quali error, then the race. Solid pace, but that strategy disagreement getting stuck in sixth. Not ideal.
And Hamilton's race we talked about, dreadful. The groundhog incident costing downforce, he was just glad to get points, almost had brake failure. Analysis called it Groundhog Day for him.
And interestingly, the sources brought up analysis suggesting Hamilton's presence adds pressure on Fred Vasseur, the team principal. Mentions of boss is not happy, Vasseur may be starting to lose control of the narrative, citing that calm down radio message to Lewis becoming public. Paints a picture of potential internal pressures based purely on the analysis we saw.
Williams also in the losers column. Step back in quali after good practice. Drivers puzzled. Albon's lap 1, the strategy call he disliked, then the engine failure. Sainz started too far back, managing issues. Frustrated.
Yeah, tough one for them. And finally, Racing Bulls, also losers. Weekend to forget. Grid penalties, Hadjar stuck in a DRS train because he lacked pace. Lawson retiring with overheating. Just didn't come together.
Okay, so that wraps up Canada. Looking ahead, Austria, Red Bull Ring, coming up quick, June 27-29.
Yep, and it's a totally different track to Montreal. Canada's tight, bumpy, stop-start almost. Austria, shorter lap, faster, more flowing, high-speed corners. Rewards power and aero.
So this different challenge, it throws up some big questions after Canada, doesn't it? Can Mercedes carry this momentum? Will their car be as strong there?
Good question.
Yeah.
And the McLaren dynamic. How do Lando and Oscar bounce back from that collision? Will the team manage them differently? Can Lando reset immediately?
Can Max and Red Bull hit back on home turf? Austria is usually strong for them.
They'll want to reassert dominance, for sure. And that championship fight, will Piastri pull away? Can Norris or Verstappen close back up? And where does Russell fit now? Is he genuinely in that P2 fight?
What about Ferrari? Can they sort out the strategy issues and get back on track? Or more? Dull moment.
And any off-track stuff. Analysis hinted at Alonso's future, the Ferrari situation. Could those narratives bubble up again? Always something to watch.
Right. So to quickly wrap up, Canada was pivotal. Russell's breakthrough win, huge for Mercedes. That dramatic, costly McLaren clash, changing the title race dynamics. Significant shifts, tightening the battles behind Piastri. Clear winners and losers across the board.
Yeah, it wasn't just a great race in isolation. It's really shaken things up and set the stage brilliantly for Austria and, well, the rest of the season. Much more exciting now.
So, based on everything we've dug into Russell's win, Norris's mistake, the championship shifts. Here's something for you to chew on heading into the next race. Was Canada, with its drama and unexpected result, a sign that this championship is truly wide open, really unpredictable? Or was it maybe just an outlier, and we'll see the usual frontrunners find their consistent form again on a more traditional track like Austria? Something to think about.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Canadian Grand Prix sources. Hope it helped cut through the noise and gave you the key takeaways from a pretty wild weekend. Keep digging into those details yourself.